The ancient Kabbalistic book, Sefer Yetzirah, the book of creation, deals extensively with the creative power of speech. Nevertheless, when Sefer Yetzirah lists the three organs of love, speech, the mouth, is not included. The three organs of love, according to Sefer Yetzirah, are the heart and the two ears. Sefer Yetzirah teaches us that love is listening. And this point is often missed, because often people perceive speaking as giving, listening as receiving. And if you love someone, you want to give to them. So often a conversation between people who love each other could be filled with a lot of tension, that each person waits impatiently for the other person to finish talking, so now I can have the privilege to give to you by talking to you. But the message of Sefer Yetzirah that we will discuss today is that love is expressed and done by listening. First of all, love is expressed by listening, because if you truly love somebody, everything about them you find interesting, you find fascinating. You therefore have the capacity to listen to them. But even more so, the act of listening is the act of love, as I will explain. I once had a student who was recently married, and he approached me and told me, I don't understand what my wife wants from me. Every night, she talks and talks and talks. I listen to her for hours. And you know what she tells me? You never listen to me. And I think to answer the predicament of this student is clearly he and his wife had a different conception of what is listening. Listening is not passive. There are many levels of listening. Listening is very dynamic. The level of listening that we try to achieve, the listening is when you're present. You're fully present to hear the words of the other person and allow them to enter your heart. When this happens, this is an act of love. In Hebrew, the word love, ahava, has the same numerical value as the word for one, echad. Love is to become one. As the Torah teaches us about the first couple, Adam and Eve, that the davak bishto vayu lebasar echad, that they cleaved to one another and became one flesh. Love is about becoming one together. By listening and truly listening, by allowing the person that their inner world that they feel alone in, frustrated in, when the words enter you, they are no longer alone. You're together with them in that inner space, and in that place together you are one, and that is Ava. In our Parasha, Parashat Va-Etchanan, we have the fundamental commandment to every Jew of the Shema Yisrael, the basic text of Judaism. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. This text, Shema Yisrael, is calling us to listen. It's through listening that we express we begin the basic requirement in front of God. And the next verse, after Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, hear, O Israel, God, Hashem is our God, Hashem is one. The next verse is V'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha b'kol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha. Loving God with your heart and with your soul. In these two verses, we have gotten to all three of the organs of love in Sefer Yetzirah. First, the listening, the Shema. Afterwards, and from that comes the love of the heart and soul. Relating to the Shema Yisrael, I'd like to share with you a story about the impact that these words, Shema Yisrael, had on my dear friend, Rav David Zeller,
we've spoken of previously, how Shema Yisrael was the turning point in his life. As we've mentioned, Rav David Zeller grew up in a Reformed Jewish family in America. He made it to India, where he lived as a sadhu, a Indian holy man. But within the ashrams of India, he had a special moment that changed his life, that brought him back home, back to Judaism. And that was when he was in an ashram preparing for a meeting. The head of the ashram was called simply Mother, and she's worshipped as a god. And you're allowed to meet her once a year. And he's doing the meditations to prepare to meet Mother. And in the context of his meditations, suddenly came to him the Hebrew words, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. And not only did the words come to him, he said that he felt Hashem Echad. God is one, and the oneness of God as linking all of life, all of existence together as connected and part of this oneness of God. Ultimately, he discovered that Mother herself was born as a Jew and studied by a French Kabbalist. In fact, the symbol of her ashram is a Magen David with a flower inside of it, was the symbol of that French Kabbalist. But that Shema Yisrael started a process. He came to Israel, and in Israel he went to hear a shiur of Rav Gedalia Koenig, one of the leaders of the Breslov Hasidim in Israel. And the topic that Rav Gedalia spoke about was about those Jews who somehow they go throughout, they must travel throughout the world, for all the different languages in the world. And based on a teaching of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, Rav Gedalia continued, they hear all the languages of the world, but suddenly a voice inside of them will come and call to them, and call for them to go home, and that voice will be the words of Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And Zeller realized that this is his story, and continued his process, and ultimately, until his untimely death, he was a rabbi who lived in the city of Efrat in Eretz Yisrael. But this isn't the end of the story. There's these stories Rabbi Zeller tells about in his book, his autobiography. But in honor of his 60th birthday, a second book was composed of people telling about their experiences with Rav David Zeller. One of those people was a young woman who grew up in India to a Hindi family, and ultimately became interested in Judaism and decided she wants to become a Jew. And her family tried to dissuade her, and one of their arguments are, look, the Jews are coming to India, Jews are becoming Hindus, not Hindus becoming Jews. Even Mother, the great Mother, she used to be a Jew, but she became a Hindu. She was very puzzled, very troubled. She went to England, and one Friday night she decided to go to the Beit Knesset Yakar in London. And it turned out that Friday night, the guest for the Shabbat was Rav David Zeller. And he gets up and tells in the middle of the davening, he shares with the people his story of how he came back to Judaism, where the heart of the story was that turning point before meeting the Mother, in which he heard the word of Shema Yisrael, and that's what brought him to Judaism. The woman tells how she heard that story, realized that she was blessed to give a message from above, and continue with her path to become a Jew. Shabbat Shalom.